before we start though, so for the members who've joined this event, I just want to let you know that the alumni are willing to link up with you on LinkedIn, but before when you're sending the request, please provide like a message that says like when you met them. So like I met you at the UH alumni panel or something like that. Don't just send in a like a blank connection request. And also we prefer if you didn't ask them for referrals because it might not be of much use in the application process. But as I said, they are willing to connect with you, but just make sure you provide like a message when you're trying to connect with them before you do so.
Okay, we can get started then. So we just want to talk about like some upcoming events that we have. The next one, the next event coming up is going to be the Tech Talk with Venkat. This is an event that we co-host with UHSPE. The one after that is going to be a workshop where we have Intro to Cloud and AWS. That's going to be hosted by Shub and Nicholas. April 17th, we're going to go volunteer at Harris County Pet. And then the 17th to the 23rd is when we're conducting officer interviews. The 24th is when we're going to elect the next executive officers. And just a side note of something that we're starting to do with CougarCS and Dr. Risk is we're going to have a peer review competition. The categories are going to be making videos on like homework or assignments or concepts that are found in 1306, 1430, 2430, CADIS competitions, or a HackerRank or a LeetCode problem. We're going to start the competition April 5th and we're going to end it May 1st. So for each of these categories, we're going to pick a random video that submitted a video and give them a $5 gift card. So for those who are joining us that don't know who we are, don't have access to any of our stuff, you can go to our website or you can always email us. Basically what our organization does is that we do the best. We try to host events and bring things to our members in order to prepare them for the future, whether that be having like interview prep, resume prep, meetings with companies, or meetings with alumni. This is the link to our main Discord. Then we have a tutoring Discord that we also offer. We have a bunch of tutors that are here to help the students excel in their classes. And of course, our group meets so you can keep track of everything or ask any questions to anyone. So our agenda today.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to chime in really quick. Thank you, Mariana. And on that intro to AWS event, that's next week. I just wanted to give that a quick pitch. If you guys are interested in getting some experience with full stack web development and using AWS, even if you're coming at it from a total beginner, we're going to cover all the foundational knowledge. It's going to be a really great event. So I highly, highly, highly recommend if you guys are interested in dipping your toes in full stack web development and all that. All right, sorry. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the alumni panel introductions. After that, we have some questions that were submitted to us by the members that we're going to read out and the alumni will be able to answer. When we run out of those questions, we're going to open the floor to any questions for the people that are in here. And so we can start. Oh. Ethan, whenever you're ready.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Ethan. So I hold a PhD in computer science from U of H. I graduated in 2017. So I'm currently working at MongoDB, and I'm a lead engineer for the query execution team. So I'm looking at the question list. So I've worked for a little bit more than 4 years since graduation. My favorite class at UH is actually research method given by Dr. Navali. Any hobbies you have? I actually love rock climbing a lot, and I go to the UH gym while I was at school, and I go there like almost twice a week to do rock climbing with my friends. I still really like it. Okay. Yeah.
Houtan, you're next.
Hey, I'm Houtan. I graduated from UH fall of 2019 with a double major in computer science and math. My current position is I'm a cybersecurity software engineer at Microsoft on the data center cybersecurity team. I've been working there for a little over a year now. My favorite class at UH, that's a tough one, but I'd have to say programming languages with Venkat is my favorite class. As far as hobbies, I like to play basketball and chess.
Christie, you're next.
Hello, I'm Christie. I actually also graduated from U of H with a computer science degree in fall of 2019, and I work at Microsoft too. So nice to meet you. That's pretty dope. I work in Azure networking, basically doing testing and validation stuff and internal service. Software engineer. I've been working for a little over a year. I think I had two favorite classes at U of H. I really liked software design with Venkat, and I also really liked cybersecurity with Dr. Laska. That's a really cool, helpful class to take. And quarantine hobbies are kind of weird, but normally I like cooking and baking a lot.
Eeps.
Hey everyone, my name is Ibrahim Curcutay. I graduated just this past year in December, so I'm a very new person in the field. Majors and minors, I did a major in comp sci, and I did a minor, actually no, I did a double major, I'm forgetting. I did a double major in comp sci and mathematics. I'm currently at Pros. I'm working as an implementation consultant, and I've been working there since January. Favorite class at UH, I would say, is any Venkat class, because it gives you more of that real world feel and real world expectations. And finally, hobbies that I have right now, it's very different. I do want to get back to working out. Haven't really had a chance, but I do enjoy my cup of poison with League of Legends. So there's that.
All right, next up is Rowan.
Hey guys, so I'm Rowan. I graduated actually December 2020, so pretty recent. I was a computer science major, minor in math. Currently, I work with Credera as a consultant, full-time in the Microsoft Solutions practice, and I am a jewelry brand. I own a jewelry brand. That's like my part-time job. My favorite class is definitely software design with Venkat. I took it in my last semester, and mostly what I mostly work on right now is mostly from that class. My hobbies, I do like playing badminton. I don't play it that much now, but I used to play it a lot in the past, and I really love designing and making jewelry. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Umayr.
Hey there, guys. This is Amir. I majored in computer science. I got my math minor, right? I'm a software engineer at CougarCS. I've been working there for about 7 months. And I would say my favorite class probably be operating systems, or one of the classes with my boy, Kevin Long, of course, right? And then hobbies. I've been recently traveling a lot, going to national parks, hiking, and I started picking up some jiu-jitsu after past several months been lifting all the weights. And also I'm trying to get my pilot's license.
All right, thank you guys so much for the introductions. Naraya, if you want to read off the questions.
Sure, hold on a second. Okay, so the first question, we have, what what exactly would be the I guess the best way to secure a job both after grad school or pre-grad? I mean, before graduation and after graduation.
Okay, I can start. I heard someone. So are you gonna call out names or I can just start?
You guys can start off with whoever.
Okay, so before graduation, I think the best way is actually using the school resources to secure internships. Having an experience as a college student is really important. So that will help you a lot to securing a job actually after graduation. So as a student, I would say use the university resources. You go to career fairs, go to meet and greet. There's a lot of them. I know a lot of them are hosted by CougarCS, and a lot of them also hosted by the University Career Services. I used to work with University Career Services as a career advisor, and we would host an event every single week. And there would be big companies coming in just to meet students and talk. So that's part of networking, and also gives you a lot of connections. I was about to say something else. Yeah, I mean, the way I got my Credera job is literally through the coffee chats with CougarCS. So it was coincidence and didn't plan for it. I just jumped in a coffee chat with one of the Credera representatives, and they connected me to a lot of Credera's employees, and then that's how I got my offer. So I would say start with the university, or if you can't do that, I would say try to get as much experience, even if it's a part-time job that requires a little bit of coding, something related to your field, related to what you want to work in the future. I would say just use as much time as you can. Just get that experience as an undergrad student or a grad student, because after that, when you graduate, you want a full-time job. A lot of the employers are going to be looking at what you used to do at college. So just I'll give the space for the other panel members too.
I definitely agree with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to add that there are companies that have special campus recruiting activities. For example, my company, Mongo, we have this dedicated campus recruiting team. It has designed this internship program that has a lot of campaigns and activities with a lot of universities. And actually, what is special, like I think VMware also has this similar program, so that they kind of recruit the new grad, like the entry-level engineers out of college exclusively from their internship programs. So there are a lot of companies like this. So if you have internship experience in such companies, for example, for Mongo, like 100% of the new grad engineers, we hire them back from the internship program. So if you get experience with company like this, if they have similar programs, and it will be a very high chance that you can get a return full-time offer after you graduate from the college.
So I definitely agree with everything that was just said. I think having any internship is a really distinguishing trait that companies are looking for when they're hiring for full-time work. Even if it's not like your dream internship, if you have one offer, just like take it. It's going to help you so much. You're going to learn a lot. And also what you said about going to networking events, I think that's really crucial, because you can send in so many online applications, but a lot of the time they're going on a stack like this thick. And if you don't have face-to-face contact with someone where they say, oh, you know, I liked Christie, someone interviewed her, that helps a lot. So I don't know to what extent COVID has impacted this, but I know that a lot of company recruiters will also go to like hackathons and conferences. I got a lot of interviews, both from the U of H Career Fair and also from Grace Hopper, which is a conference for women in tech.
I also agree with everything that's been said. Definitely internships are super important, especially for like full-time jobs. It increases your chances a lot, I think. Also, you know, networking events are really good just because it's a lot easier talk with people face to face and tell them what you're about than for them to just look at your resume. One thing in my personal experience that really helped me, both full-time and for internships, is I'd say projects and research. So like with projects, most importantly, it sets you apart from other people because it's something that's unique to you and something that you can bring to the table and show them. But it's also something that I feel like if you can talk in depth about it and like the interesting things you did or why you did it or how you like this or why you're interested in that and really brings your passion to the table, it like really gives them a perspective of like, you know, like what you like and don't like. And then the same thing with like research, as far as as my experience went, it helped with me a lot too, just because it showed that I have done a lot outside of, you know, the classroom. And as far as projects go, it doesn't really necessarily even have to be very complicated or very impressive. It can even be like class projects, as long as like you can show how you're passionate about what you did or what unique thing you created.
I definitely agree with everything that's been said, because, you know, a lot of us are saying it. There must be some reason for us to say it. I will mention that the internships is a key component to getting a job before you graduate. Now, if you're looking at after graduation, then if you have internships, that's good. But let's say you're in a position you don't have any internships. What do you do then? Definitely networking, go to networking events, but not just that. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. For example, find an alumni from UH who is in a position that you would like a job in. For example, a bunch of us here have said we're consultants. Okay, find somebody from that company who is in a consulting position. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I've just recently graduated. Your job sounds really interesting. Can we just have a one-on-one chat, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, like a coffee chat or a lunch chat, and connect that way. You're not just limited to going out to these networking events. Beyond that, I would also definitely suggest getting in touch with the recruiters or finding somebody who would be making some of those decisions. Again, do the same thing. Reach out to them and say, hey, I'd really like to learn about how your company makes these decisions or how you go about recruiting people. If you get in contact with recruiters and they get a good first impression of you, they can fast track your application in the company. Other than that, definitely have projects on your resume and be able to speak to them. And these will be projects where I love Venkat. I've mentioned his classes before. So in his software development classes, for example, you're going to be doing almost an end-to-end project where you're going from solution design documents all the way to setting it up, front end, back end, any API connections you have to make. So these are the types of projects you want to have on your resume. And it's okay if you don't do them individually, you can do it with a group of other people as well, where you're splitting up the tasks. Let's say you're not interested in UI, but you're interested in database management. Well, somebody else can do the UX, you do the database management side of things. Things like that.
I definitely agree. One thing I want to add, maybe for sophomores or freshmen who don't have any experience in the bachelor, struggling to land an internship, I would say work on yourself, find every single opportunity to show, to contribute to either students or any organizations. I would say volunteer a lot. For me personally, I was a transfer student and I had only 2 years to land 2 internships before I graduated. The first one was really hard for me because I did not have that much experience in the field. So what I did, I was very specific when my goals were. Like the first year I knew I wanted to volunteer, take on a big volunteering role. So I contacted Women Cybersecurity at the U of H and I was the president for a whole year. And then I put that on my resume. I showed off my leadership skills. And along with that, I was doing part-time job as like kids coach, literally doing nothing but coaching, just like over like training people on JavaScript, but they were doing most of the work. I was just kind of fixing their bugs and whatnot. So it was very little work, but it was there in my resume showing off that I was doing a lot while I was a student. So that kind of helped me land my first internship. So for those who don't have any experience in the past, I would suggest that you spend time working on yourself first. Put it in your resume and know how to speak about your skills when you meet somebody who's in position. That'll help you a lot in landing an internship. And if you apply online, don't just apply online and like forget about it. You have to apply. If it's an online application, as I did, my first internship was with United Airlines. I actually didn't get it from U of H. I got it by applying online. I would say after you submit your application, go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very powerful. Connect with people, reach out, send a follow-up email thanking them for their time, and do great in the interview, and then you'll just easily get an offer.
And yeah, we do have I think we have a great tutoring program through CougarCS at UH. So I don't see Adil in there, but you can talk to basically any of the other officers to find out how you could get involved in that. One more thing I will mention about, and speaking more to being able to get the job after graduation as opposed to before, make sure when you are submitting your resume, make sure you have the keywords in there, and that's very important. I know we host events all the time about how to format your resume very well. And the reason we do that is there's something called an applicant tracking system or application tracking system where it's automated. Nobody's looking at it. So if you're doing this online, the system, some AI is going through your resume and saying, hey, this person's resume meets our criteria or it doesn't. If you want to get the job through an online system, you have to make sure your resume is set up for that. You don't have to go purely through CougarCS for this. There's a lot of information available online. If you would like, you can always reach out to me and just ask me to look over your resume. I'm willing to do that at any time. But as mentioned before, just make sure if you're connecting with me on LinkedIn, send me a little message saying, hey, this is how we met. This is the reason I'm contacting you. And I'm more than happy.
A couple things I can add into. So a lot of the people we're talking about it put in a heavy emphasis on the internships, and I think that's definitely the easiest way to help secure a job later down the road. But some of the smaller things that you could also work on are probably going to be like things like communication skills, being able to show that you have a genuine interest, right, on your projects, like not just putting up that that you did some project from data structures or something. If you did something on your own time, you can look it up on YouTube. Also, I think that was another great point, just having your resume prepared, being able to get through the bots and just to get to an actual person, I think would be some good points. And then, nobody mentioned LeetCode. Some of the people, I would definitely start playing with that, because if you graduate and you never played with LeetCode, you're going to just sit there crying, just like you did in data structures, right? So just go ahead and start playing with LeetCode, or there's a couple other platforms I would recommend playing with.
Also, if you hate LeetCode, I like Cracking the Coding Interview, the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of us find LeetCode a little stressful.
Definitely, yes.
I never finished it. I only read the first chapter and then it's just there.
Oh, if you do your exercise on LeetCode, don't go by the problem number. You have a bunch of tags and by different topics. They definitely go by topics, and yeah. Just try to. What I have been doing, especially when I switched my job last year, what I've been doing is I try to limit my time to practice within the time frame of 2 months. If you spend 4, 5, 6 months on LeetCode and say, oh, let's start really early and plan way before graduation and spend 6 months plus on it, at the end of this practice time, you find out already forgot what you wrote in the beginning. And for some questions, when you come back to it, for my case, my own case, sometimes I feel like, oh, I definitely remember I did this once before, but how did I do it? I just kind of forget. Yeah. So don't try. My recommendation is like try to do it within like 1 or 2 months. You spend a big portion of your time to do that, rather than just keep it like doing it for a very long time, like 6 months plus.
Yeah, also, I just went ahead and shared a link. There's like a little OneNote I made. It's got a bunch of notes on resources, some stuff on it's got a copy of my resume in there if you guys want to check that out. Behavioral, technical questions, all that. So definitely give that a look. And also, if you got some good ideas of stuff I can throw in there or you want to throw in there, I'll add you as one of the contributors or whatever.
Just to add to the whole leak code stuff, one thing that helped me, and in the beginning, I really used to hate leak code just because like I'd get on a problem and I'd take an hour trying to solve it and I couldn't solve it and then I give up and I won't do any other questions. And so like what I've done like later on to get better at this is like I time boxed a specific like window for doing a problem, like let's say like 30 minutes. You try and solve it as hard as you can without any resources or anything. Then after that time, you can just say, okay, let me take a look at the solution, try and see how I could have done it and move on to the next problem. Don't get stuck on a problem. Oh my God, I didn't solve this. I'm going to fail the interview. That's not going to help.
I find that to be a useful strategy for like interview prep in general is to be information that you sleep on, you retain better. So if I spend 1 hour every day for 2 weeks studying something, as opposed to cramming for one night with no sleep, the consistency is really important. And when I was a TA, I told everyone this and nobody likes to hear it, but it'll help you a lot. And if you can set that time in your schedule and just say, I'm going to sit and struggle for an hour and then after that I'm free, you're going to get a lot out of it.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, I'll go on to the next question. So someone else asked, how much of what you do day to day did you learn from U of H courses? And how much did you have to learn from self-teaching after graduating? I mean, oh, I said that wrong, sorry. And how much did you have to learn, or wait. How much did you have to learn from self-teaching post-graduation?
Okay, so I guess keep the, okay, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. I think I'm using like almost literally everything at my position, at least, from stuff from like computer architecture to Venkat's courses, data structures. I mean, I work on a lot of different systems and a lot of different clients, so I feel like I have a pretty broad spectrum of what I work on.
For me, you definitely learn a lot every single day when you start working a full time. From school classes, all of what I do right now is mostly coding. So I would say programming languages, definitely data structures. These are the most important classes, especially if you're going to do full stack development. And most of what I do was from software design class. I took a lot from that because it helped me learn how to write clean code, how to test, how to use automation to automated testing, how to deploy, how to do all of that good stuff. So I left that class with a good portion, like with really good knowledge about full stack development, or mostly like backend coding. Apart from that, I don't remember security class. I learned about the basics in security. Not saying that I do a lot in security now, but it gives you that perspective where whatever you do, you're gonna, in the back of your head, you're gonna think about security. Like security is number one, security is important. You're gonna remember some stuff that you took in that class. But nothing from like networking class, nothing from nothing from like algorithms, some other stuff, some other classes I don't remember. So mostly just coding, programming, software design in database class.
For me, in my experience, there's a lot that I do learn like every day, and especially just having over the last year that I've been working at my job, there's just a large amount that you learn outside of what you learned in class. But that being said, I really do use almost everything that I learned at UH, and I really couldn't have at least gotten to the point I am as fast without that information. So, for example, like I really enjoyed Aaron Laska's web security class. There's a big first half of the class that goes over like cryptographic primitives and things like that. And usually people consider that half of the class really boring. But now that I'm on the job, like that portion of the class really helped me. And I deal with that stuff like on a daily. And that stuff really helped create building blocks for like more advanced stuff that I learned on the job. So it helped me learn more quickly. And also, as has been said, Venkat's classes were amazing. So software design, unit testing was discussed. Programming languages I really enjoyed. Software development practices I really recommend as well, just because it exposed me to like real world applications. Like creating APIs, web APIs, single page applications, things like that. And it's something that can also like fill your project list, give you that experience. But yeah, there's a lot of courses at UH that definitely helped.
I think I'm in a unique position on this panel because I work with software, but at the same time, I don't. So my job as an implementation consultant at Pros, and I need to explain what that is before I go on with this conversation. Pros has its own proprietary software, and we have a products team that creates that software. And you can think of this as an out-of-the-box solution, which means it's like a Lego kit. You have all the parts ready for you. The implementation consultants have to go in and assemble that Lego kit into whatever the customer desires, whether it's a white house or whether it's a literal white house. Whatever the client wants, we have to design it. So we are working with high-level code, but we're not getting into the nitty-gritty. At the same time, some of what I have to do can be eased, and I have to create some functions for that. So definitely data structures come into play over there. But my position really is more about how to communicate with the customer and deliver on customer expectations. So little different spin on it, but I still do have to use those base classes that we learned about.
I think I'm the only one who hasn't gone. I don't know. I think for me, in terms of how much I use what I learned at U of H in my current role, there's only 3 people on my entire team, and we're basically responsible for testing like all of Azure networking in production. So I wear a lot of hats. I'm in charge of deployment and build out, and like they don't really teach a lot of what that would even mean in school. So I feel like, and also because I think at Microsoft, everyone gets kind of specialized. Every day I talk to someone who makes me feel very dumb. And that's something I think that you need to be comfortable with in tech, is just recognizing what you know and what you don't know, but having a learning attitude, because I definitely would not be able to do my job without the fundamentals that I learned at U of H. But I also feel like if I look back at my work 6 months ago, often I'm like, oh, why did I write it this way? Because you're always growing, you're always learning. So I think I view my computer science degree for me as a very good like trampoline into my professional life, which turned out to look very different on a day-to-day basis.
I feel like you're gonna definitely learn a lot every single day. So I think one useful skill that you should have is being flexible, knowing that you're gonna learn a ton of new information every single day, and every software architecture is different. So you'd have to accommodate, you would have to know how to refactor, for example, code based on the software architecture that you have, based on you're just gonna learn a ton of information. So just be flexible, know how to research stuff. Think that researching skill is very important, because you can spend hours and hours researching the wrong way, but you can spend like a few minutes researching the right way, and like you get your solutions very quickly.
Yeah, a lot of the best engineers are the ones who are really good at Google, it turns out.
Even with the interviews, I would actually suggest doing that. Like sometimes you just don't get enough time to write everything from scratch. So in most of my interviews, which I failed a lot of them, multiple times, but I would say like research solution if you really can't figure out the solution at the interview and you still have time, like make sure that you know how to read it, and just like read it quickly, you can put it there and then you can take time to understand what you've written later. So researching is very powerful.
Yep, I definitely agree with the learning how to research better or like find answers. That's really useful because basically our job is always going to be changing. It's never going to be constant, and that's something I relate to as well. So just as long as you know maybe the specific concepts or specific keywords to look for or a direction, then it's a lot easier to be able to figure things out that you didn't already know.
Okay, I can move on to the next question. So the next question, someone asked, what advice do you have for successfully landing internships or co-ops?
Let me go ahead and get started with this. So first thing is career fairs. Very important to go to career fairs. Even if you're a freshman, go to career fairs. If you hear nothing else from me during this question, go to career fairs. It's very powerful. If you're a freshman and you at least find out what it is that the companies expect. If you are looking for a full-time soon, for example, you're a junior, that's when you usually start to think about what are you going to do after you graduate. So having the junior year as a opportunity to get your internship is very powerful. Go to a career fair, talk to the people there. Now, how do you get the internship through a career fair? That's the next part of my answer. You have to go in there with a resume which they can read. Resume comes up again. Make sure you have a clean resume that they can read. Also, make sure your resume is targeted to the company. Different companies want to see different things on your resumes. So make sure you have a version for company A, a different one for company B, a third one for company C, if you have the time. If you don't have the time to craft all of these multitudes of resume templates, try and find a template that works well for most companies. Take that in there. Make sure you have talking points on your resume. Make sure you have those keywords on your resume. Things like projects you've done, research you've done. If you've done volunteering, for example, you've been in an officer position which can help you display leadership, or if you've been a tutor for CougarCS or for the CS department, those are talking points. If you are a freshman, then you want to talk about the part-time jobs you have, or even at that point you can do research and you can talk about your research. Less emphasis on the coursework that you've gone through, more emphasis on what you've already done work-wise, what you know of, whether it's theoretical or whether it's something you have a project example for. And when I say project, they don't have to be huge end-to-end projects. They can be small things. You can talk about how you coded linked lists on your own from scratch. You can talk about how you've created a hash table to help you out in just itemizing different things. Maybe you do your taxes with a hash table. I don't know. You could talk about that.
Yeah, definitely agree. Especially with the first point, go to career fair. I feel like at least a good portion of the battle, especially early on, is figuring out how to do those interviews, how to speak to people, how to present your resume. So it's really important, at least in the beginning, to go and just get comfortable with it, right? And also, yeah, so with the side projects and everything, that's something that really helped me out, especially early on. You don't have to have really big projects or lots of them, just something at that level to be able to distinguish yourself or say, you know, look, I've done stuff outside of class. Really goes a long way, especially for internships, and especially if you're able to talk about, like, in detail about, maybe you only have 2 projects, but you can really go in depth about them and like what you did or what you like and things like that. I think those are what helped me a lot when I was getting internships.
So when I tried to get my first internship, I was doing a PhD with Dr. Adanias. He had several connections to many database professors, and one of those was the founder of a database startup. So I want to point out this: there are some times that he would just help out either his PhD students or students who took his undergrad classes and did really well, and who just send out recommendations. It actually really helps people a lot in terms of successfully and landing on the internship, because companies, if they really had a good connection with some companies, they really take a professor's recommendation really seriously. That's something I want to add to in addition to what everyone else just said.
I have some unconventional career fair advice, which is that you need to also ask questions. Did I freeze? My video is frozen on my specific machine. No, okay.
It's back. It lagged. It's back now.
Frickin' Teams. Okay, so a lot of people, I think, when they go to a career fair or a networking situation, they're so focused on proving themselves that they forget that what you're actually offering when you don't have experience is enthusiasm. And a lot of these kids will come in, a lot of these people will come in with like identical resumes practically, but what can distinguish you is stand off to the side at the career fair, Google the company, and come up with 3 questions about it. And when you go and talk to the rep, actually ask them about the company and show that you would be an enthusiastic employee who's intrinsically interested in what they do. And I felt like that having a kind of enthusiastic learning attitude got me in the door in a lot of interview situations. My first career fair went terribly, and someone gave me that advice, and my second one I got like 4 interviews. So definitely don't just focus on proving yourself so much as learning about what they're actually showing you and what they're presenting.
Yeah, I'm going to second what Christie just said. And it's not just about asking questions, it's about asking the right questions. If you go to a career fair and, for example, you visit Microsoft and you go up to the rep and your first question is, what does Microsoft actually do? Your resume is probably not going anywhere. It's probably going straight in the trash. You have to know some basic information about the company, and then your follow-up questions have to be showing that enthusiasm. For example, what does your day look like? Or if it's a non-traditional role where they don't have the same thing going on day to day, you could be like, hey, what are some of the skills that you use on a day-to-day basis? It's the same question, just put differently.
I completely agree with all of you. So yeah, one mistake is to go to a career fair, talk to a representative, and not ask any questions. And another mistake is not knowing what you did and not knowing what you put in your resume. So when you get a question, you're like, oh, wait, I need a moment to think about what I did. I would say, go to a career fair, even if your plan was not secure a job, even if you didn't have plans to get an internship or anything. I've seen a lot of people do it. I used to volunteer in career fair, so I've seen a lot of people who would skip going to a career fair just because they think that they don't have enough experience in their resume, and that used to make me very mad. But I would say go. My first actually career fair, I almost skipped, but I went there, and that's a trick that you can do just to get comfortable with the vibe, even if it's your first career fair. First, go to the companies that you don't want or you're not interested into working with, and just speak with them just to feel the vibe, know what they're gonna ask you, and that will make you very comfortable into going to the companies that you're actually targeting and speaking with them. Apart from that, for people who don't have time, or let's say that you're a person who's ready to go to a career fair, but you don't have side projects, you don't have part-time experience in this field, you don't have any related experience. So you're thinking, should I go to a career fair or should I skip? I would say go to a career fair, but work on your resume where you should think about your academic projects and list them under academic project section. So specify their academic projects and list what they are. And under each, don't just put the title and that's it. And that's what I've seen a lot of students do when I worked in the career department. I used to review a ton of resumes every single day. So they put just the title, but I don't really know what you did in that project. So under each project listing, you would specify what you exactly did, what are the technologies that you used, and things like that, for people to know what you actually did in that project. Apart from that, I think you'll be able to secure a job following all the tips that all the guys mentioned.
We've talked a lot about career fairs, but I would also like to mention that career fairs are not the only way, right? Many times companies will have company events that they are hosting, where if you go there, you can talk to the company directly and find out not just what the company does, but you can talk to some representatives there. And you can ask the same questions to the representatives directly. Not just that, you can hand them your resume right then. And if you have a good enough first impression, you can always follow up with the recruiter who attends, and then the recruiter can help you to craft your application to the company. Because they're the ones who know all the ins and outs of what they're looking for. So you go to these company events, you talk to the representatives, you talk to the recruiters, and get their help to put in your application.
I totally agree with that. You mentioned something really good, which is go to events. You will find a ton of events, either through organizations like CougarCS or like CS Girls or cybersecurity or any organization. All of these organizations are doing events, or through the career department, they do like virtual network. They literally bring the employers, because we used to partner with like employers. They actually used to pay the university to come and recruit students. So they come and do a bunch of events, and now they're doing it online as well. One thing, what helped me really secure my second internship was I met that representative in the career fair. I talked to them, but I didn't hear back. But then they were doing a follow-up event on campus. I went there and I saw the same representative who talked to me in the career fair, and she actually surprised me by mentioning my name. I'm like, oh, well, she remembers my name somehow. So that was really good. That was, and then I got interacted with them in that event in an informal way. And after that, I got my second internship offer. So definitely look around, go to events. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. You can literally jump on a meeting, on a call with someone who you don't know, but they're in a position to recruit you, and tell them more about yourself. And yeah, just looking outside resources outside of your campus if you're really struggling to attend campus events.
If I can add in a couple, did anybody already say hackathons already? Hackathons, they look dope on your resume. And then there's this really cool website, linkedin.com. I don't think anybody noticed that, but I use that one. But yeah.
You can also use your connections for referrals, but that's another way as well.
All right, so on to the next question. If you could start again back to your first day of your undergraduate, is there anything you would do differently?
So while everybody else is thinking about this, I actually did just that. I had a previous bachelor's degree and a master's degree in engineering. I wasn't finding a job with that, and I was teaching myself how to code. I got to a point where I said, some of these concepts don't stick with me. I need to go back to school. And I did come back. I came to UH to do a degree. And what I did differently is I took a much more active part in organizations that I was part of. I took a bigger part in the department I was part of. How did I do that? I joined CougarCS. I was active in CougarCS. I joined the mentor program through the department. I was a TA for the department. I was a tutor for CougarCS. So I was staying active as a computer programmer. I was on my own time, going out, doing lead code. So all of these things, I actually put myself into an uncomfortable space because honestly, I was not comfortable doing any of this. I made myself go out, talk to people, communicate with the reps who were coming out to the events because I am still learning how to communicate with people. My communication skills are still bad, although others are saying, hey, I can't believe how well you talk to these people. It took me over 10 years to get to this point. And I could not do that unless I started at some point. So be active, regardless of what you want to do in tech, be active in tech. That's going to be the first step.
I actually also have 2 bachelor's degrees because Yves and I are the weird resume people in this panel, probably. And so when I was at U of H, I felt like I approached school very differently from my first time around. The biggest thing is I never studied alone. I think having a study group for anything that you care about is incredibly invaluable. People are going to talk about things from different perspectives. You'll understand it better. The other thing is I actually started homework early, like before the day it was due. It helps a lot, y'all. Yeah, I wish I had done that the first time. My grades would have been so much better and you're much less stressed. So sorry for the unpopular opinion.
I definitely agree with both those points. So if I were to go back, I'd definitely be more involved with organizations and things like that, and just kind of have fun with it too. Like, you don't necessarily need to always be active. That's something that I would change if I were to go back. I also 100% agree. Like, study groups are super like useful. Like in any class, going over things with other people, even if you know the subject. A lot of times, me teaching others how to do something specific really cemented that topic for me a lot more. So those are super useful. And like also, I would say to my past self, like don't stress out as much. Like let's say going to career fairs or like specific tests. In hindsight, you know, all of that is not really worth the stress, although not to say you shouldn't try.
I thought of a couple other things. Apply to jobs that scare you. Just spray and pray. Apply everywhere. Let them reject you instead of you rejecting yourself. I think that was a big lesson that I learned returning to school, is to actually like put myself out there and try for things that might have intimidated me before.
Oh yeah.
One more
and
thing.
Also,
Go ahead.
Ibrahim was saying about putting yourself, I think, in difficult situations. Sorry, am I lagging?
You're kind of cutting out.
Yeah.
We can really hear what you were saying like just now, but before it was clear.
Okay. Cool.
For me, I don't think I would change something. I think I found a really good strategy for me. So as a transfer student, I know before I go to U of H that all of the remaining classes are going to be CS, and I'm going to be stressed if I take 4 CS classes. So I took advantage of my first year, my junior year as a transfer student. Kind of working, my goal was to get as much volunteer plus part-time jobs plus whatever I can do to put stuff on my resume. So it was crazy that year. I was working 2 jobs. I was doing school and I was the president of cybersecurity, but I also did mentorship in the mentorship program. not NCS, but there's the one, it's called Ignite. So I did this whole bunch of things, but I had that goal for this year. I'm gonna do all of that, and after that year is finished, I'm not gonna do anything in volunteering. Maybe some of them, it might work for some people, but not for the others. But I knew my capacity. I knew what I can do. And I was doing part-time classes. So I'm like, this is the only time I'm going to be free. I'm going to have free time. So I'd rather use it into my own benefit that might serve me in the future than struggling in the future, doing all of these stuff while I'm busy. So that was the first year. The second year, I barely did volunteer work because I was really busy with 4 CS classes in the same semester, but also doing a part-time job. So these were the 2 only things I did. I did not hold any leadership role in any organization because I knew it was outside of my capacity, but I did go to events from time to time. I did network with people from time to time. I did go to career fair and volunteer in career fairs from time to time. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Rawan raises a good point. Is college is a great time to limit test, and it literally means test your limits. Another thing that somebody had mentioned this in terms of lead code earlier, and then Christie alluded to it, but time boxing. Time boxing is very important. It's going to serve you well throughout your life. And time box is literally saying, I'm going to spend X amount of time on this one homework problem or this one exercise. And if I can't figure it out, I'm going to take a break and I might have to reach out to some other resources, somebody who's more experienced, and ask them, hey, how should I approach this? Hey, is there some other way that I'm missing? So time box is very important. Limit testing also very important. I agree.
I agree. And if you're not in the mood to do something, just don't do it. Like, just take a break for yourself. If you are not in the mood to do this homework or you don't feel like doing it, just because you're just not in the mood, just take a break and come back to it if you have time, not if you're.
Yeah, and if you start early and you get stuck and you just like, man, fuck this, I should drop out, you can gather those questions and instead take them to office hours and spend less time on your homework at the end of the day. But it takes, like we said, time boxing and planning and not shooting yourself in the foot.
Almost
which we have all been
like you're
guilty
a
of.
TA.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be too preachy. I have strong feelings.
Duke, I think you have a question.
Oh yeah. Hi guys, I'm Duke, and I have a question for on the alumni. So how the companies or the industry perceive the applicants with professional certificate, like in the field of networking or cybersecurity, and how about like the other class certificate, like you enroll and you pass a course on Coursera or EDX?
I just want to make sure I understood your question correctly. You're just saying how do like recruiters view like certificates from like Coursera? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Not only recruiters, like have you guys found the certificate helpful in when you are searching for a job or internship?
I don't have any personal experience I can base that off of, but what I can say is I do have a lot of friends that have gone after some specific like Microsoft or Amazon certifications, more specifically that have held more weight. But that's all I can really say.
It's definitely going to be a year, but it's not necessary or it's not required to secure an internship or a job. Like, the recruiters are not going to be looking for a certificate in your resume to give you a job. They're going to be looking more into your personality, more into how you present your skills and what experience you have. Or some recruiters even look for people with no experience, but they would be focusing more into your ability to present your skills and your ability, your I can't read the enthusiasm. Yes, finally. But yeah, it's not required, but it can be a plus.
Yeah,
For my case,
from the security perspective. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh. I want to say it really depends on what type of position you are looking for. I'll just take myself as an example. So for us, the database company, the query team, actually there are not a lot of certifications that you can take. So so for us, when I look at the resume, actually that part definitely it's a plus. So that means I could be asking a few more questions during the interview to just like probe your knowledge, but it doesn't make a huge difference. But definitely I can see some other positions in different areas. Those certifications could be a bigger plus. So definitely, like we just said in the beginning, someone shared, definitely prepare your resumes and your portfolio, adjust them based on the position requirements that you are the position you're applying for. Adjust them accordingly, because this certification can help you in some position, but not all.
From my experience, as far as security goes, there's a lot of security certifications, and some of those might help, like let's say like Security Plus at like the lower levels, but I don't necessarily think it's really necessary for like entry or mid positions in security. That being said, a lot of people that I know, like especially on my team, have many security certifications, especially at the higher levels, but the certifications that you get after like 5 years of experience, let's say. So I don't really think the lower level certifications hold that much weight, but the higher level ones after multiple years of experience definitely can get you ahead.
Gotcha. Thank you, guys.
One more thing I'd like to add is it doesn't, as far as I know, like everyone else has been saying, it's a plus to have the certifications. It's not a make or break for the job, but once you have the job, there are companies who can give you an increment or a bonus based on those certifications if you have them.
All right, Savila, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have one question. So how I know for me it's really hard to even get past the AI for the interviews for companies like Google, Microsoft, and like, you know, the dream companies that everyone wants to work at. So how do you even like get an interview with them? You know, it's been a question of mine because like it seems like a desperate approach every time I try, and I'm like mostly certain that I'm not even going to get an interview. Like, how do you get past that, you know, concerns and actually, you know, get something that's promising a little bit and get confidence in, you know, in yourself doing so?
So I would say that Civila, you're very much like a lot of the other students where you want to get that great job, but you don't have that confidence. So the first thing is going to be to build up that confidence. And how do you build up the confidence? You need to get comfortable with communicating. I'm going to ignore the resume part of it for the moment because we've already spoken to resume. But how do you get comfortable? You have to put yourself in those situations. You have to talk to people. And it doesn't have to be talking to company reps. You could just, there are apps out there, there are websites out there where you can have a mock interview with somebody. Two people sit down together and one of them interviews the other and then vice versa, so that you're able to get feedback about what's going on. You can always talk to people, but you don't hear yourself, right? You think you hear yourself, but you don't really actually hear yourself. So you need somebody else there to give you that feedback. They might say, oh, you sounded really nervous. And then you can go back and figure out, hey, why was I nervous? You can troubleshoot yourself. You can debug yourself that way. Or if you're answering and they say, hey, it doesn't really sound like you know what you're talking about when you're answering this question about your project, then again, you have to go back and evaluate, why did I come across as so? How can I improve on this? And then you can try again. You can try again, go back to that mock interview, and this time around, has there been any improvement? Have you changed something? If the answer is no, then you might need some external help to figure out how to do that. Career Center is a great resource for doing this. But if you do see the change, maybe the change isn't exactly what you wanted. And again, whoever is helping you with the mock interview will give you this feedback that, hey, this is what I heard this time around. It's different. And maybe it's not the same person helping you, but you can see it's different, but it's not different in the way you wanted it. And that just over different tries, you're going to figure out what needs to be said, how it needs to be said. And yeah, does anybody else have other insights? That's my one big thing.
Yeah, for the interview part, I would suggest you go to Grace Hopper Celebration. It's a yearly celebration for women in tech where you get to interview with those big companies, Microsoft, Apple, Google. You get to actually interact with them. So it might be, there's a lot of sponsorships for this. I know in the CS department, Dr. Risk maybe might, I know friends who got sponsored to attend that. For myself, this past year, I got sponsored through my boss in the career department, in the U of H career department. She sponsored me to go to the conference, but it's a really good celebration. You should go, and it's a week long, I believe so, right, Christie? And they host a lot of meet and greet with big representatives, information sessions, webinars, a lot of great stuff. And they also had hackathons this past year, a day-long hackathon where you go, you interact with other people, and then from there you actually get connected to people who are in position to kind of interview you. So this is the easiest way to get, this isn't easy, I'm not gonna say the easiest, but this is an easy way to get an interview with a representative from a big company like, you know, Google, like the dream companies. The other way would be referrals, and then the other way would be online, but for me, I think it's the hardest way to get an interview right away with an online application to a big company.
I can kind of talk about the confidence aspect of it, because this is something I kind of struggled with. Like, I was the kind who would, I didn't go to a career fair until my last year, just because, you know, I thought, you know, my resume wasn't good enough, or I didn't have anything good enough to say and things like that. So I did a lot of what the others have said, you know, a lot of like practicing mock interviews and things like that. A lot of going to career fair really did help with this. But I think the biggest thing for me that really helped me get better at like interviews was, first of all, I would just apply to a bunch of different places. LinkedIn is good for this, and a lot of other websites. But then I would basically do almost all the interviews that came my way. And there was times where I actually had offers that I was considering, but despite that, I still did the interviews for the practice. And these real interviews, and especially if you have a little bit less stake in them, really help out in shaking off the jitters. And especially when I was doing my trying to interview for getting an internship, I was terrible at interviews, but just practicing them made it a lot easier for when I was going for full time.
The first interview in my first career fair, which was very terrible, one representative asked me, kind of getting out of my comfort zone saying that, but one representative asked me, what technologies do you use? And at that time, I did not know what technologies were. So I was like, well, I do WordPress, as in not WordPress coding, no, as in WordPress templating, like just putting a template in WordPress and publishing it, like it's a one button action thing. And then I just didn't know how to speak. And then I knew that it went terribly, but I just left with very emotional, I knew I did it terrible, but I knew what question I would be asked. So I went outside of the career fair at the same moment, researched what technologies were, and then just knew how to answer that question in the future. I'm glad it was company that I wasn't interested in.
I agree with all this advice. I think you should never ever say no to an interview, even if you're not actually interested, because all interviews are good practice. And I've had definitely a lot of bad interviews, a lot of good ones. And at my interview for Microsoft, it was a 4-part interview. So you meet with 4 people in a row. And my first one, I just tanked it. And I went back to the main room and I was like, okay, today's a practice day. And I just relaxed and did my best, and it turned out to be like the next 3 rounds are probably my best interviews. So if you do it enough, if you never say no, you get more comfortable with it, and you can access that headspace a little easier where you're not panicking.
Yeah, I echo that. There are many times I interviewed a candidate, and it seems that they will be really, really nervous because they were like, oh, I really like the company, I like the job. I really want to succeed in the interview. Sometimes you're just too nervous, and definitely have an impact on yourself. And just take it easy. I mean, I've seen a ton of people that they got to Google or Microsoft, Facebook, their dream company, but this is not like the first step they landed. Like even if it's not your it's not the first job you get out of college, that's still okay. Like it's not a big deal. Like you need to just take it easy. For myself, it's like I went to a startup company, which is good, but it was not my dream company as well. But you will get there. So definitely whatever all the other people said, how to prepare well, just interview well and take it easy, that matters. But also I want to have this mindset is like you don't have to be landing on your dream job on your very first step. Just keep, if you happen to didn't have a good interview on this, not your lucky day, sometimes interviews do go bad, but you will get a chance, and you can try in the next year, or you can try in a few years and get more experience, and it will be much, much easier. Like after I get out of my first job, because I got many experience within that 3 years of work experience, I get to interview with those big companies way much easier than when I first graduated. Like when I first graduated, my resume is like very simple. How much experience do you expect yourself to have? Like you just graduated, you may have 1 or 2 internships. That's pretty few experience, but you can just, your second step will be way much better. Just keep working on that.
I agree with that too. People put a lot of pressure on their first job as if it's going to prove that they're successful adults, when like nothing can really specifically can do that. And you can always come back in a year, do a job you hate and try again. So it's not like there's one job that's going to make your resume and life complete. Just try to find the best fit that you can when you're graduating.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, everyone. That was really helpful.
I think Philip has a question.
So I just have kind of a follow-up question regarding like once you go into the full-time position, how do you deal with imposter syndrome, or lack of confidence or motivation, especially since right now you're working from home. Sometimes I kind of struggle to find the motivation to do the task that was assigned to me. Okay.
I couldn't hear the second part. But for the first part, just maybe knowing that everyone is struggling with it, everyone is experiencing imposter syndrome. It's not only you. But what was the second part of the question again?
It was sometimes it's just that I find there's a lack of motivation to do the task I was assigned to. How do you combat with that? Yeah.
For this,
sorry, find a motivation for what? To work, or?
Yeah, to work on the task that you were assigned to do.
So I think he means sometimes you're given tasks where you feel that they're pointless and you don't feel the motivation to do them. And how would we handle that? Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But this is more in a remote work setting, right? You feel like remote working because you don't see people every day, and that kind of getting things worse. Like you kind of lost the productivity you wanted to have.
Yes, yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
I see.
Okay, I mean, I'll take a jab at it. So I think this happens to me a lot. Sometimes your boss might give you this like super large or what seems to you like a large project, and you're like, dude, I can't do this. This is it. I can't. I'm not a software engineer. I'm not built for this. Like, got to make a U-turn, right? What I like to do is with those really large projects is I've got a little yellow notepad thing on my desktop, right? And I'll break the project down. I'll break the task down into smaller little tasks, and that helps me out a lot. So, and once you see like one little task is done, you'll hop onto the next one, and then you can do the next one. But just having like an overwhelming amount of work, especially when you're solo here, probably at your, I don't know, in your room in the dark, right? And so it's not very motivating. I get that, but I think doing that that might be something that's helpful.
Totally agree. If you're talking about procrastinating or like not being in the mood to do something, you're just like, I need to do this. I just don't feel like doing it right now. There's two options. One option is use the 5-second rule, and which basically is like you just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just start doing it. I'm a big procrastinator, but I've been better lately. So if use the 5-second rule, it's like 5, 4, 3, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just start doing it without even thinking about it too much. The other option is like change the time of the day. So if you feel like you're active in the morning more than you're active in the evening, so just fight to wake up in the morning and do your tasks in the morning, because it's like you have your most energy in the morning than in the evening, or for some people they're more energetic in the evening than in the morning. So just make sure you're doing it at the time where you most have energy at. So yeah.
From the imposter syndrome question side of it, and this was a big one for me. I had major imposter syndrome when I first joined. And I unfortunately don't really have like a magic bullet question or answer for this. It's kind of just as you work through it and as you do tasks and somewhat rely on your teammates as well, you'll eventually realize that it's kind of all in your head. And I think everybody goes through this, right? I kind of expect that even at like a senior level or something, switching teams, you still carry a little bit of that with you. Hey, what if this team, everybody's better than me or something like that? But that's usually not the case, or you're over exaggerating it to yourself. As far as motivation goes with like work from home, one weird kind of small thing that's helped me is like I try not to, well, two things. I try not to go at like back-to-back problems head on, because that ends up frustrating me and I get burnt out. And then the second thing would be really to like, I have distinct place where I work and where I don't, I guess. So whenever like I feel frustrated or overwhelmed, I like leave where I am, do something really quick for a bit. And then when I come back, I feel completely refreshed. Otherwise, I find when I was, working and also relaxing in like the same room, I never would get over those feelings. So I'd always feel like, I'd have to work, or, I was in the same headspace.
So there are several things I want to say, because before pandemic, I was already at a company that went 100% remote. So I've been working from home for almost 2 years now. So one thing you probably want to do is try to connect to your teammates as much as possible. So usually remote first companies will organize a lot of social activities, like the happy hours, virtual board games, many other online social activities. Try to connect with people, talk to your teammates. But definitely a lot of times will help you feel a lot better. Just like whenever I sit alone in my apartment and just doing some coding assignments I'm not super interested in, I just feel like I just want to drop it. I don't want to do it. But like feeling being needed and feeling you are in this team environment, it's definitely going to help you a lot. It's going to help you feel better. A lot of companies also offer resource for people to talk to some specialist. Don't feel awkward, like say, oh, I'm not sick. I don't want to talk to a specialist about some issues that I have recently in terms of feeling not motivated. Definitely use those resources. And as a manager, I constantly use my time every week to talk to my team members to check in and see how they feel and if they need any help. There are times that I see team members don't feel like doing a lot of work and they feel less motivated. So they will talk to me and say, hey, probably it could be many options. It could be like you just take some days off and just take a break and just recharge and come back. Or there are people say, I feel I'm so bad at time management recently because working from home. So I will have more frequent check-ins because they want me to have some synthetic pressure. Say, let me just press you on this, like, we'll just check in with you, like, how's that going, and can we have this deliverable? And sometimes if I just push a little bit, that they want that, actually they will just feel a lot better. Just feel like, oh, I actually need to deliver this. This is kind of a hard deadline for them to do it, and sometimes we just get up and do it. And another ways I feel I personally like a lot is I do a lot of pair session with my coworkers. Sometimes, like, I was given a bug that I feel this is so complicated, and I sometimes feel frustrated investigating it. I sometimes just ask someone, hey, do you have time that we pair on this? So we jump on the Zoom call, and I probably will share screen and walk him through what I'm thinking and what I do, or just type some code together with someone. So they'll just chat with me and discuss a little bit, and also we'll just talk about some other random stuff. So it's like you work closely with someone else together with you, just feel like you're gonna feel a lot better. So I definitely encourage everyone, like, if you ever find yourself in a place that you feel that you are very unproductive and you really don't want to do some work, and just maybe you can find someone just to do that with you together. I think many times people would love to offer some help.
Yeah, for the imposter syndrome, I would definitely say step one is admit that you probably don't have the skills. And step two, ask for help from somebody more experienced at the company. A lot of the companies do provide you a mentor or somebody within the company who you can turn to if you have any questions, especially for about the first 6 months. Take advantage of that. Take huge advantage of that. Go to them almost every day, or maybe multiple times a day if you have to. And that's going to help you progress through your job a lot faster. It'll help you build up that confidence for the tasks later on. And if there is something that your manager comes up to you and says, hey, I need you to do this set of tasks, and you, again, for that imposter syndrome, if you feel you're not able to do it, communicate that. Communicate that with your manager. And maybe say, hey, I think I'll need somebody else to help me with this set of tasks so I can complete it successfully. As far as the motivation, definitely pair programming is great. Sometimes going back to the time box, and if you hit the limit, take a break, come back to it later. That's going to help with motivation. A lot of companies nowadays, especially with the virtual environment, they're investing in resources to help with the employee's mental health. So take advantage of those resources. Maybe there's a counselor that the company has you can speak to. Maybe you just reach out to your manager and say, hey, I'm going through a rough spot. I need to take a break. There are many options as far as mental health go and motivation go.
So in terms of imposter syndrome, I think it's really important to just generally in life, let go of the expectation that you're ever going to be the smartest person in the room. If it happens, great, but often it won't, and that's fine. There's a lot of intelligent people in tech and a lot of people with experience that you won't have. So opening yourself up to being, to learning and from your peers, especially when you're new, and just being humble and having that attitude is going to serve you really well. In terms of time management, I think it's really important to make what they call SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-oriented. Basically, break up your tasks into things that you can actually definitively say when they're done and have it be a short time from now. rather than just staring at one project that's super overwhelming. Say, I'm going to, I don't know, make something that helps me with my coding is I'll make a skeleton framework of my code where I at least write the classes, I write the methods, and then I put comments in each one saying what it will do. And that's a good way to just get started and have a general design going. There's a lot of other similar ways that you can break up your projects so that they're less overwhelming and that you can feel more motivated to do them.
Thank you guys for you. Oh shit, go ahead.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna try to add some stuff that people haven't mentioned. Oh, the imposter syndrome. I mean, just remind yourself, if you got through a CS degree, you're already basically a badass. I mean, it's pretty common to hear that CS got a pretty high dropout rate, and you probably already felt like that before, where you got to a point where you're just like, yeah, I don't think I can do this, but you got through it. So I mean, I'm pretty good at catching myself whenever I feel like that and just being able to overcome it. Motivation also, maybe seeing the sunshine once in a while is pretty good. Working out's been great. Eat some vegetables or something, man. I don't know, eat healthy. That's helped me out a lot in terms of motivation. So.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
Shub, what's your question?
Hey, so I just wanted to expand upon the salary negotiation point. If some of you can highlight like some of the effective tactics you guys probably use in your own personal experience, that would be very helpful.
So I had to do that on mine, and I think you should. I mean, I can't really think of a point where you wouldn't want to counteroffer. I think you should always do it, but you need to have a good reason to. Like, you don't want to just say, "Hey, I want to buy a rollie next weekend." You tell them, "Hey, look, like what I said was specifically was, hey, my company's out of DC." So cost of living, state taxes, cost of like food, gas, everything skyrockets over in the DC area, or like San Francisco especially. Those areas are going to be pretty expensive. Even though if it's going to start off remote, I still put in. I ended up being remote, but I still put in the fact that while I was negotiating my salary, that's something I could realistically still use. So just make sure you have like a good thesis, I guess, a good argument on why you do want more money, and also just kind of knowing what software developers are making in that area, entry level, and just being well equipped with knowledge.
For comparison, in the Houston area, the average for starting salary is about 70K. Depending on the skills that you need, depending on the position type, it could go like, I've seen it about 5,000 either way. So just be aware of what is expected, not just for standard of living, but also location. You could have different places with the same standard of living, but if you're in Texas, then you might be getting paid lower than, I don't know, if you're out in Arizona. I don't know. This is just example.
Another thing is try to do research before negotiation. Just try to see what the level is, and then sometimes it's good to give the recruiters or whoever is going to do the negotiation with you a clear target. So say I'm targeting 10,000 more in base, or 200K more in stock options, whatever. Like, just give a more clear target. Say, if you feel like, if you're comfortable saying something like, if you bump this up by $10,000, I'll definitely be accepting it. If you're in that kind of phrase, like recruiters like this kind of things a lot. Like if you can say, if you just try to get me 10K more in base salary, I'll just accept it. Something like that. A lot of the times the recruiters will be more than happy to just try to have it approved for you and close this higher account.
Also, actually negotiate. I think a lot of people are scared to ask for more, but often the person that you're talking salary with isn't even the person who decided that they want to try to hire you. Their goal, if they have made an offer, is to get you to sign. So if you ask and they say no, it's okay. If you don't ask, you don't get anything. So always at least try to negotiate. And if you're not an entitled jerk about it, they're not going to rescind your offer. The offer is still on the table. They might just say no. Oh well.
One more thing I want to add is one thing that happened to me as soon as I graduated, I started applying to a bunch of places, and I did have a bunch of places offer me like really low salaries. So don't be like, oh man, I gotta take this salary because I couldn't find a job the first week after I graduated.
Also, depending on the company, just because you've signed with a company doesn't mean you're completely locked in with them. A lot of companies nowadays do a type of contract where either side can break it off. So if you find a better job, it's completely okay to go back to them and say, hey, I have a different offer. I know I signed with you guys, but I got a different offer come in and it's substantially higher, or I prefer the location or whatever. Give a good reason. Give a good reason. And then say, because of this, I'm not going to be able to sign with you. Now, make sure when you're giving this reason, give it off the record. All right. Make sure you don't go in writing with it saying, hey, I got 10,000 more from this other company, because then they have a reason to blacklist you. But if you talk to them just on the phone and say, hey, listen, I have family in Houston. I got an offer in Houston. I'm going to be taking that instead. Then they'll understand it. And in the email, just say something along the lines of, I had a better opportunity be presented to me, and I'll be following up on that.
All right, guys. With that being said, it's going on for pretty long. We don't want to take too much of your guys' time. I just want to ask a quick favor from everyone. If everyone can do the kook sign, so I can take a quick screenshot and maybe post it on LinkedIn and share it around. That'd be really cool. So can I get everyone to do the kook sign? Umayr, or
Is it this way?
well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to
See,
do
I
it.
I was like, yeah, which way?
Hold on.
As long as it's not a gang sign.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's do that one more time, just for safe measure. 3, 2, 1. Actually, let me see if I saved it before I let everyone go. All right, cool. We have it. Right,
Okay,
thank you guys so much
what
for
type?
coming.
Sorry, what type of chairs do you guys use? Like, do you use the ones with the neck support, or?
Yeah.
Nah, you want
I
good lumbar support.
I got my fiance a Herman Miller chair, and I've just been staring at his desk jealously ever since. So,
I definitely recommend Herman Miller. I got a Herman Miller Aaron.
right now I have my office chair that I hauled home in the trunk of my car, and I'm gonna have to bring it back soon. So.
Okay, I found one. Thank you guys.
Wait, what's the brand you guys are recommending? Oh, Herman Miller.
Yeah.
That's not a student budget chair, though.
Oh, this will be an investment, because like I can't sit down and study anymore. Like I need to take breaks every 5 minutes. I'm like almost 80, like back-wise. You know. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a really fantastic event. I learned a lot. Thank you guys so much for coming out.
Yeah.